Well, hello and welcome back to a Wine Affair podcast. Today I am joined by Jayme and Steve Henderson, the owners and winemakers of the Storm Cellar in Colorado, and I'm thrilled to have them. They are the second guests in my series of Women in Wine that I'm doing right now for the podcast. And I'm also lucky enough to have Steve to get the male perspective on this very interesting topic, so I'm very excited about that too. So thank you guys so much for joining me and taking the time today.
Oh, we're happy to be
Glad
here.
to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
You were both kind enough to send me two of your wines, which I'm super excited to try. So I have the dry Riesling and the Hotchkiss CO. Am I pronouncing that right? Hotchkiss
You are?
CO? Okay.
Yes, good to
Love
go.
that. Is there one that you'd suggest I start with?
Probably the Riesling. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I want to show the cool bottle too. I love the artwork on your bottle.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we really wanted to keep things kind of in line with how we like to develop our wines, just really crisp, bright, clean, unobstructed by a lot of oak, really letting the grapes shine. And yeah, there's a story behind that label, of course.
Yeah, of course. And has it always been this label?
It has. Well, there's one that's different.
It's taken on some small tweaks over the years,
Okay.
but the sort of idea behind it has stayed the same. It's gotten cleaner and sort of more stark as the years have gone on, but we like that very minimalist, simplistic kind of label.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's very minimalist. I just saw recently the movie The Brutalist. If you haven't seen that,
Haven't seen it yet.
No.
Yeah, and it reminds me a lot of that sort of architecture, that style of architecture. It's very cool.
Okay, we'll have to take note of that.
So I'm seeing that this is 13.5.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful light golden color. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 13.5. We get a lot of commentary about that as far as Riesling goes. A lot of traditional Germanic dry Rieslings. The climate is so different there that they don't accumulate the same sugars. Granted, climate change is shifting that some, but we're always surprised to see Riesling at 13.5% alcohol. And one of the differences is that with our elevation, Riesling has such natural super sharp acidity that you have to get it really ripe here to bring the acid into some kind of a check where it's actually a wine that's drinkable. Otherwise, you kind of have to make it in an off-dry style because the acid would be so sharp that you would need some sweetness to balance it out. So we let it get really ripe for Riesling.
Huh. Okay. Nice aromatics on this. I can smell I get a little nectarine. Is that what I'm?
Totally. No, we've said that nectarine. Sometimes it's a citrus component, so we'll get like tangerine, nectarine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very juicy. My mouth is salivating already, so that's
a great start.
Great start.
Yeah. I wish we had some in our glass. We have espresso right now. So
also not a bad decision.
Not a bad choice, yes.
Not at all. This is delicious, you guys. I don't know that I've ever had a Riesling that tastes like this.
Nice.
In the best way.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting. So this is blended with what? With Riesling, and anything else in here?
100% Riesling.
We are unabashed blenders in general. But Riesling's sort of our holy grail. Like we've never blended anything into Riesling ever. It's always 100% Riesling.
Wow. So this is all just where it's grown, how it's made. Wow.
And so we're located out here in Hotchkiss at 6,000 feet in the West Elks AVA. Okay. And these grapes we source from a vineyard that we've worked with for several vintages. It's located in the southwest corner of the state, and it's not in the two designated American viticultural areas of the state, but it's down near the towns of Dolores and Cortez. So there's a thriving orchard community, and it's a single vineyard called the Box Bar Vineyard. And it's very similar to our terrain here. And at 6,000 feet as well.
High desert.
High desert.
Yeah.
Very
Alpine desert.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's the process of it? Are we using staves? Are we using, what are we
No
using?
wood.
No wood, okay.
No.
All
100%
stainless.
all stainless.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's the general process there? We'll get the grapes here. For us, that's driving down there over some really sketchy mountain passes.
Beautiful though.
With a with a trailer, which is always, a sort of gamble.
Yeah.
Breaking down in the middle of nowhere with 3 or 4 tons of grapes on the back of the trailer is always the kind of thing you dread. So we bring grapes back here. We do what's called a cold soak. So we'll run the grapes through a crusher to stemmer right when we get them here. So we'll spit out all the stems and kind of gently break the skins up. And we'll let that sit really super cold. We don't have a chilling system, so we have to use nature, which is the shade, in combination with dry ice.
Right.
But luckily, Colorado, by that time of the year, Riesling harvest is October.
Yeah.
Those grapes are probably mid-October, October 12th or 15th at harvest. So it's chilly at the nighttime then. So nature kind of helps us out there. So we'll let the grapes soak. People say, do you ferment on the skins? We don't do any fermentation on the skins, but you do get a lot of extra phenolics by letting the juice soak on the skin. So we'll do like a day-long cold soak, and then we'll press the grapes off, is basic first steps here. After that, it's pretty standard. Settle out the solids. We inoculate our fermentations. Our winery situation here is a little, what do I want to say, sketchy maybe is the word. When we first bought the property, the building that is our current winery was the machine shop. They had the tractor in there. There was oil stains on the floor. There was birds nesting in the ceiling, and
I've definitely cleaned it.
Certainly it's been cleaned up, but it's not necessarily the environment that you want to interact with the environment. So as of now, all of our fermentations are closed tank fermentations. There's plans for a new winery facility, and I certainly assume at that point we'll kick off some native yeast ferments once we have an environment that's a better starting point. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You guys are adventurous. I love that.
That's a word.
That's a word.
Yes.
Well, this is just delicious. I mean, it's such a fresh, I love that it's so fresh, and I love that this is definitely, and I don't say this really about Riesling, but I would drink this on its own.
That's great.
Thank you. I would definitely have it with food, but I would drink this on its own, which normally I don't think of Riesling like that.
Yeah, I find that I drink, sometimes they can be a little too sharp or abrasive, and and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're right about it. It warrants it encourages another bite, and kind of like how you said, you're salivating, just nosing it, but that same that juicy, almost like that lemony puckery sensation just encourages you to eat another or have a bite. It's a great standalone wine as well, and I think there's a little texture on it. I think that comes inherently with its ripeness component that Steve was talking about.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
part of
definitely getting texture. Yeah.
part of that too is that word we talk about, which is dry Riesling, which doesn't mean exactly what everybody thinks it means.
Right.
If you look at the back of a bottle of Riesling, a lot of times you'll see the International Sweetness Scale, which was a set of numbers determined as far as what constitutes dry, what constitutes medium sweet and sweet. And for dry Riesling, all it means is that the total grams per liter of sugar is less than or equal to the total grams per liter of acidity. So, you could have 5 grams of sugar, but as long as you have more than 5 grams of acid, you can still call it about a dry Riesling. So what we'll often do is we'll ferment the Riesling tank totally dry, and then we'll have a tank of off-dry Riesling that we know the exact grams per liter of sugar, and we'll blend in some tiny portions that's people like, what do you do all winter? I'm like, yeah, that's what we do all winter. Geek out on tweaking, because I think there's probably 2 grams of residual sugar in there, but maybe 7 grams of acidity. That's a pretty classic dry Riesling numbers, I would say.
Yeah.
If you run it all the way down to 0 grams of sugar, it's super aggressive.
Yeah. It wouldn't be sippable on its own like you just described.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is bravo, you guys. This is delicious.
Thanks.
You. It's definitely it's in our particular vineyard, the largest amount of acreage is devoted to Riesling. So even though that bottle that you're enjoying isn't made with estate-grown grapes, we use our estate-grown grapes for our sparkling, but it's like the heartbeat of our project. So that's why we chose it for you.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, last year we made a sparkling Riesling, a dry Riesling, and a full sweet late harvest Riesling. So yeah, it's
And a fortified dessert wine Riesling. So it's
Really?
so much fun to work with because of its versatility and because of that acidity.
So I'm curious about the fortified. How was that? What's the flavor profile on that?
It's still in process.
Yeah, we're still working on that. So it's finished with primary fermentation. It's got honeyed nuances on the nose, just like that riper peach style, almost like juicy apricot. And again, just really floral, almost like a chamomile note. And so we're going to be adding a little bit of a neutral grape spirit made from Viognier grapes. And so that will bump up its alcohol content, texture, and then we left a considerable amount of residual sugar on that. And so it's legitimately a dessert wine, and we're going to give it a little oak treatment. The only Riesling that we will be giving any type of oak treatment, and again, that's for texture. So we're really trying to mimic a couple of dessert wines that we've fallen in love with over the years, but let it speak Colorado.
Wow. I love you guys are experimenting like this. This is so great. So the other one that you sent me is this Côtes CO,
Yes.
which I am super excited to try as well. I love French wine. I'm mostly a red French wine drinker, but I am branching out into white.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm very interested to try your take on this because I was very intrigued when I saw this. I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah. Which French wines do you tend to go for? Like style-wise or grape?
In the white, I usually white Burgundy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like a fuller, richer sort of thing.
Okay.
The white Bordeaux's, I'm sort of still I haven't found my sweet spot with that yet.
Right.
They're sort of either too acidic for me or they're not. I don't know. There's something I'm not getting it yet, but I'm still trying.
Well, this one right here is very textural. It's our richest, most textural wine. So that's why we wanted to give you that contrast between the two.
Ah, okay. So same beautiful golden color on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I would say slightly paler, maybe than the Riesling. Slightly.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different experience, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. So with the Côte CO, translating as hills of Colorado, like the Côte de Rhone, hills of the Rhone, and it's made with those, several or two in this particular vintage Rhone region varieties. So it's mostly Roussanne, and then Viognier. So very textural, opulent grape varieties. And then for a Colorado twist, we added a little bit of Gewürztraminer. And just for that floral note, there's also just a little bit higher acidity contributed by that particular Gewürztraminer. And this one did see some oak treatment. As far as treatment, we, like Steve was saying, we have a smaller winery and we don't have a barrel program. So we use genuine oak staves. And they're used at this point lightly toasted French oak. So really just to give that wine some balance, some texture, and we're tasting it along the way to get to that sweet spot where everything kind of coalesces. Everything starts to just feel more balanced in that wine. And it's not going to be, you can kind of sense that there's a little bit of oak treatment in there, but you really get that voluminous texture, if you from the Roussanne, from the Viognier, and that. It was a really fun one to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And we
mean, again, in the best way. This is unlike anything I've ever had. It's
thank you.
it's so textured and nuanced and beautiful. It's what a beautifully elegant wine this is.
Thank
Thanks.
you. We were going for that. So we
Wow.
can't grow Roussanne or Viognier in our region. It grows well in the Grand Valley AVA. So we're in the West Elks, and the
Okay.
Grand Valley is about an hour and 15 minutes away from us, but it's 1,500-ish feet beneath us in elevation. And it has a 2-week longer growing season. And that 2 weeks makes all the difference. So, Roussanne and the Viognier, they have time to develop and fully ripen. So we will always source those grapes outside of our region. And sadly, we can't grow them, but we have some great relationships with the vineyard growers that we source those grapes from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good, because yeah. And that little extra touch of Gewürztraminer, like that is so, I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Oh, yeah, it's a little different.
Yes, but like in the
Yeah.
best way. It's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Oh,
blended.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was saying we blended it post fermentation, so we just kind of really, like I said, wanted a little bit brighter acidity. Wanted that floral note, to complement it. So it was a fun process.
That's the thing with the especially the Rhone white varieties is a lot of times once you get them as ripe as you want to get sort of the phenolics you want, they lose their natural acidity super fast.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times those wines are whatever word you want to use to describe. I don't even want to say the words flabby or whatever words you like to use that are just flat, imbalanced, too flat on the finish. And that's not really our style.
Yeah.
We love acid in wine. So a little nudge of Gewürztraminer really brought a crispness to the finish of that wine. And I don't think you get it so much like on the nose, but you get that little floral on the finish, which I think is really super interesting.
I was just going to say, I am getting it on the finish. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm slightly obsessed with this one, you guys. This is.
Thank you.
This is just fantastic.
It was just released last fall for the very first time.
Okay.
So it hasn't even really hit our tasting room yet. It was released right as our tasting room were closing for the season.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm honored to have a bottle here. That's awesome. Well, these are delicious. I want to go into your backstory a little bit because you guys have a really cool story about how you got to Storm Cellars. So I want to kind of go back and sort of, if you could start sort of at the beginning and how this came to be, because I know you were both Psalms.
Yes.
And that's where you started. How did this come about from taking that step? That's a big leap.
That's a big leap.
From we're Psalms, so let's do a winery. How did that come about? How did you guys decide that?
It was a bigger leap than a lot of people think. People see it as the same industry, and certainly it is the same industry, but what your life entails is totally different on a day-to-day level, even though it's still kind of the same thing. But man, it sure was a big jump.
It was a big jump. Yeah, we were working in the restaurant industry. We were just ending our evenings, gosh, at 1:00 in the morning on weekends, consistently almost near midnight during the weekdays. And so it was a very big role reversal. The impetus for this, it's such a testament to keeping your mind open to whatever kind of tickles your fancy, sparks your mind off, because you never know where it's going to take you. And this is a case in point for that. We were on a wine buyer trip in 2016, and we visited one of our favorite winemakers. We were at a roundtable discussion. It was actually a dinner, and we had the honor or just fortunate circumstances to sit by the owner and winemaker of this winery. And it was Peter Michael Winery, and we love, their Pinots and Chardonnays. Anyway, Sir Peter Michael himself asked what was happening in Colorado as far as the wine industry goes. And really we just, we said, well, here's what's trending at restaurants. Here's what people are into. Here's what we're selling at the restaurant. And, he basically was like, no. What's happening in Colorado wine, made with Colorado grapes. And at that point, in 2016, we were curating a list of over 750 bottles. And on the list, we inherited 3 placements of Colorado wine. Neither of us sold it. It's not even like we looked down on it. It was just like, okay, they're on the list. We're just going to keep them there, whatever. We didn't know what Colorado wine country was even about. We had never been to Colorado wine country. And so it was a moment of a little bit of embarrassment to not know what's happening in our own state as somms. I think that's so key to know what's happening in your local sphere. And I think a lot of somms, they focus on the coasts and they focus on Europe or South America. They neglect that. So we went home and we were at the same restaurant. Steve was working one night and I did an internet search just to look at what's happening in Colorado wine because I was going to get back with him. And I was curious myself and I looked at the coloradowine.com site and then did a crazy little internet search of Colorado vineyards and Colorado vineyards for sale. And we were not even planning on making that kind of a jump. We were looking to get out of the industry, like the restaurant part. We were thinking of moving to the West Coast, perhaps opening a wine bar, maybe working at a winery in what we thought was wine country. And I sent a link to Steve while he was at work. Then it was a link to a vineyard out here in Hotchkiss. And I said, we should buy this. And it was a little joke. But then I said, let's just go look and let's talk to this realtor and just look at it. And we felt like we were absolutely posing, thought we'd be figured out, that we're not really in the market. But you never know what happens. I mean, that is another conversation in itself, how that unfolded. The long story short is we came out here and visited wine country in Hotchkiss, Colorado on a wine trail of at that time, maybe 12 wineries, and totally smitten. When we finally looked at this particular place where we are today, we looked at each other and said that where we had such an idea of this had to happen. We had a vision. We wrote a business plan on the 4-hour drive back to Denver. And in under a year, maybe like 9 months, we were able to put an offer on the place and it worked. It was wild. I remember writing a $25,000 check on my credit card for like the earnest money and just kind of going, we just jumped. And so in under a year, we were out pruning vines, had never pruned vines before. I'll let you follow up with any questions. It's kind of a monologue, but it's a wild story. So.
Yeah, no, when we were talking initially on the phone, I could not believe this story and how it unfolded. You guys are incredibly brave. And what I love about this is that you just followed this passion of, you didn't let all the doubts even enter in, it sounds like. I mean, I'm sure you thought about it, but like, you kind of just went, we love this, we want to do it, and let's find a way to make it work, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, on some level, you can find just about any knowledge out there today if you're willing to take the time and look for it or ask for it. And, one of our consistent jokes in wine, how did this all start really was, for 10 years, a dozen years, every time we had vacation time, we'd be in wine country. We'd look at each other and be like, you want to go to the beach? You're like, yeah, the beach sounds great, but wine country's free. Because at the time, we were buyers for some of the top restaurants in Denver, and they love getting accounts like that out there, and you get the golden treatment. But it's just interesting how.
But we would look at like wineries or vineyards. We'd see the vineyard. We were like backyard farmers, urban farmers, gardeners in Denver, and we would think, oh, we can do that. We can do that. You're just scaling it up, and it was like that moment where you're so ready to get out of your current position. You have a spark of interest and you're like, it's now or never. Okay, we can scale it up. And so it is, it's a leap of, I say crazy faith. It's a leap of faith, but you've got that bit of crazy in it where it's just like, which if you didn't, it's just like the perfect circumstances to make that jump. Had we known we'd encounter a lot of the obstacles that we've had, there's no way to say, I don't know. I don't think we would be here if we knew everything that was stacked against us along the way. But No regrets.
Good. Oh, yay. Good.
Ultimately.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that because and you do have to have a little bit of crazy, right? To like go to take that huge leap.
Yes.
And also, did you have any concerns about the fact that it was in Colorado and you were kind of in a place where it's definitely not known for its wine?
Right.
Any concerns about like how are we, so we can make the wine, but how are we going to make it then sells and it's popular?
Yes.
Was there any concerns about that part of it?
Sure.
Yeah. I think, there were concerns, but it was just like, that was a vision. We're just like, no matter what it takes, we want to we had tasted at that point some really promising Colorado wines. And
Okay.
a couple that we actually put on the list when we were working at this restaurant. And so we knew that there was a high potential. There were some great wineries, great wines made from wineries maybe that didn't distribute it. Maybe they didn't enter competitions. They were flying low under the radar, but they were making incredible wines. And we thought the potential's there. And that was one of our goals was we said we really want to join putting Colorado on the map. And so I was just thinking, it's if you have good grapes, if you have good weather, if you have good farming techniques, if you're really fastidious with your cleaning, all of your sanitation, your thoughtfulness, and we had a worldly palate of just, I know that doesn't make a good winemaker, but it contributes being able to taste for that balance. We seriously thought,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would you add about that?
Well, some of the things that we thought were going to be hard have proven the other way around. In retrospect, the thing that really has proven hard is getting people physically here to the winery.
True.
Because our wine region is not a place you really end up unless you are going to this region. It's not super easy to get to.
We're not off a major
and there
interstate.
are limiting factors like it's pretty much a small farm community and there's only so many hotel rooms for rent on a given weekend. And those sort of limiting factors that are really hard to push past those physical limitations has proven interesting. And so we're always shifting where we think our focus needs to be. Obviously every winery wants to sell all their wine to guests right out of their front door. As soon as you leave and start distribution or start putting wines in the mail, you're selling at a fraction of the cost. And, so everybody wants to sell out of the front door, but how do you get people to the front door?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad you guys did this and took the leap. This is so great. I love stories like this. I think this is, for me, some of the best wine comes from people like you. I've had an opportunity to taste all the great California and, all of that. And, the places we think of as the major wine regions, the Finger Lakes and the Finger Lakes makes some great wine.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. And I've been to France and of course, all of that. But to me, still to this day, like the wines that I really love and wind up loving and ordering and having are from the small wineries that a lot of people don't even know about.
Yes.
But that's where I love it. And I love that there was so much that went into those wines and that I love the stories behind the wines.
Same.
So to me, I'd rather support people like you that put blood, sweat, and tears into making this wine versus like the Mondavis of the world that are like, that really, just put out whatever at this point.
Yes.
But, yeah. So
there's something to be said. It's got to be really tricky as a winery to try and put out 50,000 cases or 500,000 cases that all taste the same. Like the amount of physical tank space and equipment and logistics that takes is really baffling.
Yes.
All of our wines are single tank ferments. There's no having to blend together 50 lots. So it's really focused. Every wine, we know exactly what's happening. And we actually like our smaller tanks better.
Okay.
If we had the floor space in our winery, I think we'd probably have a lot of smaller fermentations.
Mm-hmm.
And by small, to us, that's like 250 gallons. So not tiny. It's not like tiny productions, but 250 gallon tank gets you, 100 cases
yeah.
or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And we love working in that lot size. That's like 2 tons kind of thing. You can really be hyper focused on something at that size. And
yeah.
Mhm.
So.
I mean, yeah, bigger guys have bigger problems, I guess, but
Yeah.
I mean,
We have our own problems. Anyway, go ahead.
Before I do want to get into the women in wine segment of this, but I also want to not leave this part out because the name Storm Cellar has a cool story, and I want to make sure I get that in here. So tell me the backstory of the Storm Cellar name.
Yeah, I'll tell the backstory, and Steve can kind of talk about how it's evolved to this point. But when we lived in Denver, we had a 1-story house, and it had a basement, and we had an amazing cat. She was black and white, so you can see how that, led to the style of our label. And little Storm Cat, she would, like, one of her favorite spots was down in the basement. It was the coolest part of the house, obviously. And underneath the stairs was where we had our preserves. So our cellar, things from growing vegetables and fruits. And that was also our first wine cellar. So we didn't have a fancy storage system, but it was perfect because the temperature was stable. It was pleasant and cool. There was no vibration to hinder any aging wines, and it was dark. And so it was her favorite spot because she could kind of seclude herself underneath the stairs. And so it was Storm's Cellar. And so we said one day, oh my gosh, that's a great name for like a wine shop. And it was our, pardon me, it was our internet, hub name that we had for years. We called it the Storm Cellar. And so that was back in 2007. And we said, okay, we'll name something eventually one day, the Storm Cellar. And when this project on that 4-hour drive to Denver, we knew we were going to name this winery the Storm Cellar, this vineyard, the Storm Cellar.
I love that story.
But it's also evolved to where it is today.
Yeah, and for you, it's your first time probably looking at the labels. If you pick up the bottle, you can see we kind of gave like a nod to the stairway.
Yes.
On the bottom of the sort of graphics of the bottle.
So that's like going down to the basement where Storm lived, and then the mountains. Mountains can, they can get a little overdone in Colorado branding. We want it to be subtle, but those are the mountains that we look out just south and east of our vineyard.
Yeah, I love that story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to get into, because the crux of this series is women in wine. And I want to get into a little bit of what it's been like, particularly for you, Jayme, as a woman in the wine industry, because it's still male dominated, quite a bit still. What has it been like for you, your personal experience? And Steve, you can weigh in at any time too, because I know you have things that you've definitely observed. What's it been like for you in the business as far as like first being a som and then coming up into being a partner with Steve in this winery? What's been the reaction to that?
Yes. I'll lead in with, I could really let a lot of roadblocks or perceptions, societal norms that are slowly changing, thankfully. I could really let that, quiet dim my light, quiet my voice. It's very easy for you to use to see all those limitations and just think it's so much easier just to sit passively. And so to continue rising above, to continue pushing forward takes a lot of effort. I also don't like to have a lot of bitterness when it comes to that. I really like to remain open, approachable, keep that mantra of hospitality, of the guest, putting the guest first. And to answer your question about challenges, I mean, even back in the restaurant industry, we had tasting groups, and it was mostly men at those tasting groups. And for the most part, all of the people that were in that SOM group were very supportive. And especially the women in those groups, we really rallied together, recommending each other for different, either a position or just if someone needed a quote in a magazine, we would make sure to reach out to qualified women as well. But even when I was on the floor, as a SOM, Steve and I were both certified sommeliers, and we would, worked on the floor. We were both managing at the same restaurant. And I might do it differently, but this is what I did at that time. I made sure I wore a pantsuit. I made sure it was like conservative, businesslike. I had my hair short. It's straight right now, but I have really wild curly hair. I just got it done, so you can't really see that. I would straighten my hair to be sleek, and I before I'd go on to my floor shift every night, I made sure I went into the ladies' restroom before anybody was in there, stand in power pose, just really, channel that, whatever, you're channeling your inner confidence. And I would make sure when I'd go up to the table to talk to a guest and to greet them, I made sure I had my pin on, I made sure I had the wine list in my hand. And even if I had the wine list in my hand, I had that pin, I was exuding confidence. I was excited to be there. I would still, and not a hostess position is a bad position or lower, but they wouldn't think of me as the SOM or the wine director or co-wine director at that point. It was that they immediately thought I was a hostess or I was just managing. I was supposed to be with the girls up front. And so there was always that, I get like, oh, can we speak with the wine guy? I kind of joke back, not be too sassy, but you have to have a little bit of sass. So just saying like, I'm the wine guy. And so there's always a point where you have to prove. You just feel like you have to prove every single time. If you're walking into a Tractor Supply store, if you are walking into a wine conference, if you're going to pour wine at a table, or if you're at the tasting room, someone will, Steve and I will both be out there and they'll want to, ask Steve, a question about the wine if they have a question, but they'll make sure that they tell me, hey, the porta potty's out of toilet paper or whatever. It's just, those are very big extremes, but, and I see things are changing. They are, but to answer your question, for the most part, there are so many women in wine right now. Colorado Wine, the wine board is doing a focus on women in wine. And I've even seen people who I haven't even met yet. And so that's super exciting that more fresh faces are out there. Yeah. And we have a great, networking potential here or organization that we are all part of called the Colorado Association for Viticulture and Enology. And so there are ways to bond together, but I'll let you follow up if you have a question, but it's definitely been, it just always seems like there's an upward battle, and remaining positive and just showing up can be a challenge.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine. I mean, thank you for sharing that. Steve, what's your perspective on this? Do you think that it's changing at all? Do you think that there's being more space made for women in the industry?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think that those things, if you look hyper at most industries, people want to say there's change happening. I think that the problem is the deeper seated societal norms that are just so ingrained that even when you see somebody saying the right thing, you can tell it's forced, and it's not like they are saying this because they know it's what they're supposed to say. It doesn't feel like it's still really a part of things yet. I guess we're not that far removed from the 60s. It was half a generation ago really that it was a different world, and I don't know, those kind of things. And we love where we live, but it's rural farm country. There's barely 1,000 people in this town, and everybody's been super nice, but it's also eye-opening to see ingrained, deep-seated beliefs, and those things are hard to really change, I think, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So, in going forward in the wine industry, because this is sort of what I'm trying to figure out, like what kind of things could we implement that might move this for, like, would change the system a little bit? I know we're sort of like that would move it women forward instead of instead of being so male dominated, which makes it
Mhm.
that's what makes it hard. But um, is there anything you see as something that could implement a change within this industry?
Perhaps, I mean, personally, what I would love to see, and I'll think about how I would say would be actionable steps to get there. Like I said, just being taken seriously from the get go, assuming that women can make wine, that women can make great wine, women have a great palate, they're capable of doing these things. You know, cleaning tanks, running a tractor, running a business. So highlighting people, highlighting women doing these things
Mhm.
is very impactful. The more visibility that women in wine can get. And like I said, even just seeing those social media posts that are put on by our Colorado wine department, I'm seeing new faces, new to me faces. And so that visibility is powerful. And if, you know, maybe at wine conferences, making sure that, you know, qualified applicants, if they have a qualified pool, being able to see women, men, I mean, that can further spill over into all kinds of diversity. But just getting that broad reach, just being mindful, you know, even with wine judges, you know, we'll look at a panel. I mean, because it's top of mind for us because we're such a very different, unconventional uh, business. Both of us do everything together, and so people will still ask, who really does the winemaking, who really drives the tractor, and you just think, oh, why does it have to be one person, you know? And it's
Right.
so it's just and I so it, you know, when you are pushing that boundary as we're doing on a daily basis, we're really, you know, we really are careful with our branding, careful with our wording, making sure both of us are shown uh, in our on our website. We'll look at social media posts and put me and Steve. I mean, it's a very conscious effort, and so I think that businesses, you know, organizations can really choose to amplify, you know, women voices.
Yeah.
I mean, one day I just want it to be, I love women in wine, but I just want, like, you know, if you think of a winemaker, you think of a man or a woman, you know?
Right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know
Right.
why we change it. Right.
Right. What would you add for like
I mean,
something?
I think that's a good point. It's sort of any group that's marginalized on some level. You want to hyper focus, and you want to promote women in wine
Mm-hmm.
because you know that's the right thing to do. But then on the other hand, you want to eliminate words like woman winemaker, and you want to just have it be winemaker, because that's the real dream, is not having to have the hyper promotion, but just
Acceptance.
blanket acceptance and
Yeah.
equality. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll, you know, we'll keep amplifying that now, you know, until we get to that point. It's not a negative thing at all.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does, you know, and when I look at your website and the lovely card that you sent me, by the way, thank you very much for the postcard.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome.
but when I look at that, when I look at all of your messaging, it is, I mean, I get a sense of partnership. I get a sense of, oh, this is lovely. This is a couple doing this together in
Great.
partnership, right?
That's
I
great.
don't think, oh, Jamie's a woman, Steve's a man. Like, this is
Yes,
love. And it comes through in your messaging, I think.
that's
Um,
good.
so I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, I hopefully we'll get there. I hope we can, you know, to your point, I hope we can just start referring to it as winemakers
Yes.
and women winemakers,
Mhm.
because you are, and you're doing the same job. So
Yeah.
Yes.
very well. So, um, I want to make people aware of how they get in touch with you and get this wonderful wine, because they should have it in their homes. Everybody should.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So how can they get in touch with you, and how can they order the wine? And then what's coming up for you guys for Storm Cellars? Like, is there anything on the cusp of happening soon?
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Always, right?
Well, people can visit our website, stormcellarwine.com. We're active on social media channels. We have a once a month newsletter. But hitting the website, it will take you to all of those communication routes and social media following routes. And we have a wine club that we are about to release our spring wines in April. So we're excited about that.
Yay.
And we're excited for a busy summer season. We are, we do a lot of chef dinners that we, like long table dinners, multiple courses right outside, overlooking the mountains, and you can see the vines. It's just so hospitality forward, So that's what's on the horizon, and you can add something else if you'd like.
No, I mean, every year we get excited for the summer season. Our tasting room is very seasonally driven. This whole valley, like I was saying, that comment I made earlier about it being hard to get to, it is. You have to go, from Denver to get here. You have to go over like 4 pretty serious mountain passes. So in the winter, that's just too sketchy for most people.
Sometimes they close, yeah.
So the valley's pretty seasonal. May to October is the valley's kind of heyday, but during those months, it's
full throttle. Yeah,
a spectacular little corner of the world that we found here, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's the organic farming hub of the state, and so it's just this magical place, North Fork Valley. It's 3 towns, and it's a taste of rural life, but with a lot of elevated but casual elegance. It's really fun to be part of.
Nice. Well, I hope to get out there someday. I would love to.
We would love that.
Yeah, I'd love to experience that with you guys. I saw that shot of the long table overlooking the mountains in your brochure.
Oh yes.
How beautiful is that? So
yeah.
I want to thank you guys so much for your time and for this lovely, lovely talk we've had. I can't express to you how much this means, and this is going to be so great for people to hear your story. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
Oh, of course, yes.